Hello everyone, the purpose of this video is to talk to you about synthesis because this paper is a synthesis paper. The first thing I want to do is remind you to please read the textbook assigned readings that are assigned along with this video lesson. The concept of synthesis is a little bit difficult to understand at first, and that's because it's a very deep level of thinking. It is much deeper than summarizing, identifying. It's even deeper than comparing and contrasting. So it does require a lot of brain work to synthesize really well. Having said that, it's also a really important skill because we live in a world where multiple types of information from so many different sources are just coming at us constantly from all different modes of communication. And synthesizing all of that information, putting all the pieces of the puzzle together to form more complex ideas, more informed ideas, more intelligent ideas is very important. So, synthesis really, for me, is about conversation and discussion. And so your job when you are doing synthesis is to allow many different voices to come into your paper talking about the same topic. I like to think of synthesis as sort of like a dinner party or a book club. You invite a bunch of people to the book club and everybody, speaks on the same topic. And because of that conversation, you have a much richer understanding of the book or the topic that you're talking about. And that's your goal in synthesis, to facilitate a conversation that makes your readers much better informed of the complexities of your conversation. Now, in synthesis as well, just like if you were at a book club, you wouldn't say, okay, person number one, tell me what you think about the book. Cool. Person number two, tell me what you think. Instead, you're identifying places where you're building, right? Ideas are building upon each other in a synthesis paper. The word synthesis we've heard before because we know the word synthetic. So if you think about synthetic fibers, synthetic fabrics, they are made like you get a new fabric by making it out of different component parts, right? You can also think about a synthesizer, which is, sort of made music. Your schema is what you already know. You're allowing all the sources to provide new perspectives or new input, and that informs your own perspective, right? It informs your own perspective. And you use that to inform your readers in a more complex way about the topic. Drawing on multiple sources, integrating information to form new, more complex ideas and understandings. Taking many different component parts, sort of like pieces of a puzzle, and putting them together to form something new and better. So synthesis then is allowing that conversation to occur within your paper. Here's an example. We have already synthesized a little bit Derechowitz and Gary Gutting, both of whom wrote What is College For? Book chapter and the article. So over here we have Gutting, who said, practical skills are beginning to outweigh theoretical understanding, which is making us move beyond the intellectual culture that defines higher education. Derechowitz said something similar, right? So there's a common thread here. They're both talking about how the purpose of college education should not just be practical career-related skills. These are talking about how practical skills, negotiable skills, sort of those job, career-specific practical skills are not the end-all be-all of the college experience or what you should be getting out of college. And that is the beginning point of synthesis, is allowing these sources to come to the table. And the table is your paper, right? You're letting them in to inform your own perspective and to help you make your own point. So you are going to begin by finding similarities and differences between sources. You're going to point out to the reader where sources overlap, so where they sort of are saying similar things, and where they diverge, on what things do they differ. And it may not be hard and fast disagreement, but they may have a different type of focus. They may focus on particular causes of the problem in a different way. They may say, oh, it's the same problem they're talking about, but they talk about it impacting different types of people in different ways, right? So you're looking for really subtle ways of overlapping and diverging. And really important to synthesis is not just comparing and contrasting, but using those varying perspectives to increase your own reader's understanding of the topic. All of those varying perspectives result in a much more informed approach to the topic. So here's an example on the left of what synthesis does not look like. It's not quite there. We have multiple different sources. We have Franz, we have Perez, we have Goldstein, right? But in this example, and you'll want to pause it to sort of read through this, in this example, we don't have any connection between the sources. It's just source, source, source. There's no way of connecting the sources or showing how they're overlapping or diverging. There's not really discussion going on here. It's just one person, the next person, the next person. Here's a better example because it includes synthesis connectors. So here we have, although Franz says this, Goldstein sort of on the other hand says this. So we're facilitating that conversation by showing how these sources are interacting with each other, the points where they diverge. So Goldstein says this instead. Here's another synthesis connector, although Perez said this. He expanded on Franz's study, right, and it would continue on. So this is better because it has synthesis connectors within it that helps show how these sources' ideas are related to each other. And that's what you want in good synthesis. Not just several sources in the same paragraph. You got to show how they're connected and working together. Or disagreeing with each other, because you also want to allow opposing perspectives within your paper because those voices help form a better understanding of the topic as well.